Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the WXYZ Digital Sports Luncheon. My name is Justin Rose. We appreciate you sticking around here at 12:34 on a 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at that. That's kind of fun. Maxwell White,
that's
digital producer, he's my trusty steed, my trusty sidekick. We're trying to work on it like a good nickname for me. He's like, well, why don't you just call me Max?
Well,
like that's because it's your name.
Well, then you wanted to call me Tonto or Robin. I mean, let's come up with like my own original nickname.
Robin is like going to have his own series pretty soon, so he's going to be like...
It's going to be a really bad series, though.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt did a really nice job.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
In The Dark Knight Rises.
He was, yeah, that's true.
I'm a geek, what can I say? So, this is the show. For the next hour, we're going to be chit-chatting about all things Detroit sports. But it really comes down to what you guys want to talk about, because I can sit up here and grandstand for an hour, but I'd rather have discussions with the people out there with what you guys are feeling and thinking about all things Lions, Michigan, Michigan State, Pistons, Red Wings, whatever you want to talk about. So you can get in touch with us in a myriad of different ways. You can, of course, if you're watching the live stream at WXYZ.com, you can make a comment underneath that page that you're on, and we will get to that. You can also hit me up on Twitter at JRoseWXYZ or Max White, M-A-X-W-I-T-E.
H-I-T-E.
Yeah. White, W-I-T-E. That's how I spell it. I phonetically spell everything. But you can hit us up, Twitter, Facebook, or you can call in. That's what we really like if you're feeling a little frisky and a little...
Real personable. It's a real
personable way to get in touch with us. 248-356-0077. 248-356. I'm going to tweet that out right now. So in case you're not following me, you can. JRoseWXYZ. The number's going to be up there. 248-356-0077 to call into the show. And I'll put the link there. All right. So what we're going to do first is we're going to talk a little bit about the Lions. They have a monumental win, and I say that very tongue-in-cheek when I say that. They go into Green Bay and they get a win over the Packers. First time in 24 years. Great. Super. What a disaster.
Oh, boy.
Really, really can't tell you how personally I feel disappointed by this win, because it's a win that could potentially be a franchise killer. And I'll get to that in a little bit and explain what that means. Coming up at about 1 o'clock, we're going to talk about Michigan and Michigan State. Michigan State, of course, has that looming game with Ohio State this weekend, and we're going to have tons of coverage for you throughout the week on that. And then Saturday, huge day of college football right here on Channel 7.
Yeah.
We got Michigan, Penn State at noon, Michigan State at Ohio State at 3:30. Brad Galley and I will be in the studio breaking it all down, the whole shebang, if you will. 7 o'clock between the primetime game and the Michigan State-Ohio State game. Really going to be some exciting stuff coming up this week as well. And Max, I got to ask you, what do you think about the cardigan look? Are you okay with it?
I mean, I'm a big guy, so I don't wear cardigans, and I'm a blue jeans and cowboy boots guy, so cardigans are not.
This is not, so no.
It's not even
in
my dictionary.
This is not your
well,
look.
and for the people at home, his undershirt does look a little brown.
That's right.
But it's actually green.
It's a nice green.
Someone forgot that we use a green screen.
This is all fiction. All of it.
So
can we change the background to a busy city street or something?
No, it's a
Detroit, like an avalanche coming down behind
Sports Webcast. We got
I know,
Ford
but
Field.
The possibilities are endless.
Park. Oh, that's true. The possibilities are endless.
Like cows running, or the running of the bulls behind me.
That's dangerous.
That would be good.
It'd be fun.
That would be good.
Yeah.
All right, 248-356-0077, the phone number. Once again, we are going to get started with that Lions win. And Max, I know that you're such a humongous Lions fan. I mean, this guy's got a tattoo of the Lions on his calf, for Pete's sake. Unbelievable. But, Matt, look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did not have a chance to watch the entire game. I caught bits and pieces and a lot of replay when I went home and rewatched it back, but kind of skimmed through to the important parts of the game.
Yeah, you could have skimmed through that whole first half.
Well, it was just terrible. 3-3 tie at the half, I think it was, or
yeah, it was 3-3
at
halftime.
Unbelievably bad game. But here's the problem. And I definitely want to hear from you guys on this, because this is where I'm going to find the divide, where you're at. Because last week and for the past 6-8 weeks, I've been sitting up here telling you that this just isn't a good Lions team. The organization needs to completely restructure itself and flush the toilet of all the waste and start over. from outside sources, from people in football who know football, who understand football, who can come in and say, this is how you run a franchise and have success, continual success, not 8-8 success, continual winning, functional success. And it comes from the top down, president, the general manager. Ownership has to be involved in that too. Ownership has done its part so far. And by so far, I mean Martha Firestone Ford has done a fantastic job of evaluating the situation, saying, this isn't working. So she got rid of the president, she got rid of the general manager, the coaching staff, the head coach, who in his own right is an owner of sorts, owning of his team on down. He has gotten rid of some coaches and moved some pieces, benched some players, moved some things around. He's doing his job to the best of his ability right now. Here's the problem. You go on the road and you do something the franchise hasn't done in almost a quarter century. I was 7 the last time they did it.
I was in Green Bay.
Yeah.
I wasn't born.
You weren't even born.
No.
When were you born? 94?
92.
What? How young? Oh my God, you're such a baby.
That was.
I learn so much about you when we do this show. I love it. I love this guy.
Can't have these deep personal conversations.
This is
Conversations off air. Anyways.
No, we can't.
Back to the Lions. That was such a Lions win yesterday. That was the same old Lions win. I'm sorry, but it was. They squeaked by, they lucked out, and they won when they didn't need to win. And they shouldn't have won.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing.
Shouldn't have won is different.
I'm trying to be as non-negative as possible when I talk about the line. Because again,
good thing you weren't here yesterday, because I was very negative.
Well, there's the connotation that Caldwell, and he's not wrong by saying that the negative perception exists because the Lions have been so Lionsy for so Lions long, that you kind of buy into this whole like, oh gosh, they don't know what they're doing. They continually put out a product that's not winning. But it's like, I have to ask the question, and you have to ask the question. Deep down inside, you have to ask the question: did the Lions really win, or did Green Bay kind of lose this game?
Oh, Green Bay lost that game.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers was they had to throw the ball 61 times, and he was only. Matthew Stafford had a better quarterback rating than Aaron Rodgers. Raise your hand if you had that one pegged before the game yesterday.
I mean, he was barely above 55%, or barely above 50% completion percentage.
I mean,
that's not Aaron Rodgers.
I just when I look at that game, I simply just have. And here's the thing. Again, it's the NFL. Every team can be beaten on any given day. There's no doubt. I mean, look what the Giants did to the Patriots yesterday. They almost beat them. They didn't, but again, took them to the wire, and that's a team that nobody could stop. Well, and then you got, Denver, who was supposed to beat Kansas City, Kansas City wasn't supposed to be any good. They beat Denver on the road.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like back and forth and up and down a couple of different ways because teams can do anything any different week. I mean, last week Tennessee had an outstanding game. This week they had a clunker in Carolina. By the way, I think the Panthers are pretty legit.
That's a good team.
That's a good team.
Yeah.
They don't do it flashy. They're not a sexy team.
They're just a team that gets it done.
They're just a team that gets it done.
Now, here's a question for you. Why Joe Lombardi, no longer the offensive coordinator, Jim Bob Cooter takes over. Why are we not giving the ball to Amir Abdullah anymore? Still. He's still not getting the ball. I mean, Joique Bell had 14 carries yesterday, the majority of the carries, almost 3 times as many as Amir Abdullah. You know how many yards he had?
17.
Yeah. Amir Abdullah had 5 carries for 15 yards.
Right.
I mean, why isn't he getting the ball?
Again, coaches will tell you, and this goes up and down the board, you don't see them practice every week. You don't see how well they do, day in and day out, the way that the coaches do. The coaches see that Abdullah is not ready or doesn't know the playbook or doesn't do the right thing when he's out there hitting the hole, run hard, whatever it is, they're not going to play him as much. He's not going to be the starting back. And it's easy for couch quarterbacks like you and I to sit there and go, he's got more speed. He's got more hands.
Well,
he's got more ability.
It's not even about that. It's just more, why aren't we giving him the opportunity to do it? And this is obvious.
Because the coaches don't feel that he gives them the best chance to win the game. He does a 104 kickoff return and everyone goes, guys, you got this guy with all the speed.
Totally
why don't you use him in every single play? Because that's not. I mean, if if that's the way you play it, then why don't you just throw it to Calvin Johnson every single play?
Well, and so here's the thing. Right as I brought that topic up, Caldwell started talking about it in his press conference.
Jim Caldwell is doing his press conference right now.
According to Dave Burkett, Caldwell on run game, he is pleased that, quote, our defense gave us a chance to stick with the run, and Jim Bob was patient, which we wanted to be. And then Jennifer Hammond said Caldwell thinks the team is moving in the right direction with the run game. I don't think they're moving in the right direction. I don't think they're moving in any direction. They're kind of just stuck in the fact that they can't run the ball. I mean, you had 32 combined yards from your two running backs, and Drake Bell and Amir Abdullah. And your longest run was an 11-yard run by Golden Tate.
Yeah.
And now that goes back to the offensive line as well. They just, they can't get a block on anybody, but I don't know. It's frustrating.
I mean, at the end of the day, they got the win, and I'm going to go into the locker room later this afternoon and ask the guys about how much that type of win can galvanize a team. But my question to you out there, 248-356-0077, 248-356-0077, is how much do you want the Lions to win this year? How much is too much? Because there is such a thing as too much winning. I mean, you look at the schedule the rest of the way, there's some winnable games there. But then at the same time, I mean, would you consider what would it be? 6-8? No, it would be 6-10. Would 6-10 be a successful season?
I'd be frustrated. Why? There's no point to it.
Right.
Get a better draft pick.
6-10 will get you about the 14th or 15th draft pick. Maybe a little bit lower than that, or higher than that, depending on how you view, like Mark D'Antonio.
Yeah.
Which is high, which is low? I'm not quite sure. Got some internet issues here. I don't even know what this stuff even means. I don't want to debug this script. Does this happen to anybody?
Are you using Firefox?
Yeah.
It's a Firefox thing. It happens to me a lot.
I hate you, Firefox.
Just click stop script. That's what
Stop
I usually
script.
click.
Stop the script.
Although when Josh Wilson suffered a significant injury.
Okay.
Would not say whether or not he will go on IR. And then Kyle Meineke, usually when Caldwell says that, the guy is out for a long time or season.
Well, that's not good because the cornerback position is already, with Rashean Mathis being done, put on IR for the rest of the year.
I mean, you had to have the guy you signed 2 days ago come in on the last play of the game.
Made the play.
He did make the play. Creston Butler. Yeah, he did.
Yep, made the play. Headed to IR. That's Burkett, yeah. So, look, and here's the thing with the Lions. I definitely want to know where you guys all stand on what you want them to do the rest of the way, because again, I don't think that true fans, don't want them to lose out. But again, you got to be smart about where you're headed with what you've got. Like the playoffs are, they're out of the equation. They would have to win every game the rest of the way. Do you really believe in your heart of hearts that this team can win every game the rest of the way?
Well, and does winning every game the rest of the way even get them in the playoffs?
9-7 probably.
I don't. But
you everything else has to shake out, but you at least give yourself a chance. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Well, and what is going on this year in the fact that the Vikings are leading the division at 7-2?
Oh, they haven't played Green Bay once yet.
Well, Green Bay's lost 3 straight games, and
yeah,
they don't look like Green Bay.
They'll figure that out. See, that's what good teams do, though.
Yeah.
When the Lions win 0-3, good teams figure out how to win that 4th game. And they had a chance. Mm-hmm. I still believe that if that call would have gone the right way and they would have won that game in Seattle, Calvin Johnson doesn't fumble the ball on the goal line, they win that game, I think they come home and they don't get just embarrassed by Arizona. I think they have a chance to beat Arizona. Then you're looking at a 2-3 team. You're going, okay. You got through the tough part of the schedule. You managed it, didn't look good, but you managed the right parts to get out of the tough part of your schedule. But man, 2-7, and it's just with guys going down, and you're going to be picking people up off the waiver wire. And this isn't like your fantasy football team. There's not guys that can produce that are out there on the waiver wire just hanging around. This is real life. So I don't know.
Yeah, Michael Kostka, I believe is how you'd say his last name, just said the Lions win was a fluke yesterday. I don't know if it was a fluke, but it wasn't. I think it was more of a Green Bay loss.
Did you not see this? Kyle Meineke, our buddy from M Live, Caldwell and how the Lions could have only 10 men on the field.
Oh,
for
yeah,
Green
you
Bay's
didn't see
final
that
field
photo?
goal.
Kyle tweeted that out.
It's my fault. I got to do a better job. Next question.
Yeah, happened twice. And on the last play, they had 10 men on the field.
Oh,
imagine
boy.
now. Can you imagine the discussion that we would be having right now if that field goal went in, and the photo came out that they had 10 men on the field? How does that happen twice in a game? I mean, there's double. I mean, talk about
you are dealing with 3 less coaches to manage those things.
No one lost a special teams coach though.
But at the same time, coaches have responsibilities on sidelines of getting groups together, and it's not always like the special teams coach. And I mean, it shouldn't have happened.
Well, you shouldn't. I saw a lot of tweets yesterday. One especially from Friday the Pizza Man, who was not happy about Matt Prater missing a couple field goals, and a lot of people were saying cut Matt Prater. I thought that was crazy. Or 2 extra points, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Now 2 extra points in a game is different, but we've seen a ton of kickers miss extra points this year. And he's 9 for 9 on field goals?
Yeah.
Do we want to go back to the debacle we had, last year, with going through 3 kickers in the first, 6 games?
Yeah.
And finally landing on Matt Prater with that 3rd kicker?
Yeah. All right, we got a message in from one of our Facebook viewers. It's from Ken Voss. They're still horrible. Green Bay lost that game more than Detroit won it. Clean house. I completely agree with that statement, Ken. I can't imagine this team being better off with Sheldon White moving forward than someone else out there. And I don't have the names for you. I don't have the idea of who it is, but I know what kind of person that should be in there. The type of person that should be in there is, number one, first and foremost, a good overseer. The management skills, the managerial skills that this person is going to possess is going to be top of the line, like really, really good stuff. Secondly, I want a guy who knows who he can hire, who has the best talent evaluation. Because again, the general manager shouldn't be doing a whole lot of hands-on stuff. He should be the one overseeing a team of scouts that are top of the line scouts.
Mm-hmm.
And look, it's hard. I'm trying to break it down. It's like when you're, say you work in a factory, and you have all the people on the assembly line producing at a high level. Who gets a lot of the praise?
Yeah.
The manager, the shift manager. He's like, hey, you're doing a great job. All of this production is coming because of you. Well, did the manager really do that all, or was it all of his people that he had hired to do the jobs necessary to make the thing work? That's how it works. So Sheldon White, this is not a personal attack on him at all. And I also think that all of the hatred and the anger and the angst that was thrown at Martin Mayhew was a little bit misplaced, because at the end of the day, he does make the final calls on a lot of things, but he also has a team of people going, here's the information, do this, do this, do this. If we had an example of one time when a scout said, hey, you know what you need to do? You need to take Aaron Donald instead of Eric Ebron. Here it is. This is why. Here's 100 reasons why you take Aaron Donald instead. And he said, nope, Eric Ebron. That's my guy. Forget the research. I want Eric Ebron. If that's how it went down, shame. If that's not how it went down, well, I mean, again, if somebody came to him and said, hey, look, Eric Ebron's the real deal. You got to get him. You got to get him. Got to get him. But what about? And he said, well, what about Aaron Donald? Oh, we don't need that. We have other. Okay. It's kind of one of those things where, I don't see how Mayhew's the only one to be at blame. So basically, that's what I'm trying to get to. My point is,
I think it was system-wide failure.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it has been, and that's why the Lions can't look at this Green Bay win and go, hey, if we did something for the first time in 24 years, we should get a chance to run this thing. Wait, based upon what? None of the players that you recruited or scouted are in the system and played and won in that game. Mm-hmm. None of the coaches that you particularly hired coached in that game. Like this win is very significant in the fact that it finally breaks the curse of Lambeau Field or Wisconsin or however you want to look at it. Great. You should have done it years ago. I mean, it's a nice little pat yourself on the back moment. Like, hey, good job. You guys won a game in Green Bay. Doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. This team is not going to make the playoffs. And there's so much football left to be played that you can't sit there and go, well, they're really giving up their first overall draft pick. They'll be back down to the bottom. Like they'll show their face, their true colors, and continue to do that. But I don't know. I'm not ready to worry about that too much.
We've got a question from Evan here. Even if the Lions still had the number 1 pick, who would they even take? There's no clear number 1 this year.
No, and and you'll see that. A lot of the Heisman guys right now in the college game, underclassmen, they'll be coming out potentially. But that's good. Let's look at a mock 2016 NFL draft, because a lot of the guys, none of them are like, as your point is, none of them are bona fide these are can't miss guys. I mean, right now you got, according to UPI.com, they have the Lions overall number 1 taking Laramie Tunsil, an offensive tackle from Mississippi. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland Browns would take Paxton Lynch, the quarterback out of Memphis. The Titans would take Joey Bosa out of Ohio State. This is just a mock draft. I don't particularly agree with any of these rankings. But these are the names that are popping up and probably would be pretty widespread in the top 10.
Where do they have Connor Cook?
Jalen Ramsey, 4. Ronnie Stanley, offensive tackle. Ramsey was a defensive back. Jacksonville Jaguars would take Ndicke. I like him.
He's good.
I would take him. I'd take a flyer on
him.
Laquan Treadwell's good wide receiver. Jared Goff, the quarterback. Connor Cook would be going 10 to the Houston Texans.
Say your best Texas accent.
Texas. Kansas City Chiefs would take Jack Conklin, the offensive tackle out of Michigan State. And then I do believe that Shalik Calhoun has fallen out of the first round. He has.
Okay.
According to a lot of people I've been talking to, that is kind of the general sentiment.
A little other NFL news. I mean, did you see there was the report that Greg Hardy got into it with Lawrence, someone on the Cowboys game yesterday, his own player. He was also like taunting off the fans in Tampa, like, haha, I'm Greg Hardy. And then this report from Sports Illustrated, he apparently missed morning meetings last week. I mean, how much is it going to take for the Cowboys to get rid of this guy?
And their team is already in it.
Oh, that team's. I mean, they lost Tony Romo, and that team just fell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna worry about that Greg Hardy situation, because again, anything I say is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They got to figure that out. It's a travesty. It's a joke. It's.
So we had that tweet from Michael earlier. Said it was a fluke. I asked him, how does he want the rest of the season to turn out? He said, Show the Forge should do the right thing and sell the team. Everything else changed over decades, but that. That's not going to happen.
I especially think it's not going to happen because Martha is making.
She's making changes.
Stuff
Bill Ford
she's
never
doing.
made.
She's doing something. That's why I think that they will eventually go hire somebody from the outside and bring them in. I just don't want them to give themselves an opportunity to look in the mirror and go, well, maybe we could do it our way still. No.
Yeah.
Stop with the whole our way thing. Like, let's do it. Let's hand it off to. Because as an owner, you have two types of owners, and we've gone over this before. You have the hands-on owners like the Jerry Joneses of the world, and you have the owners like, who's the owner of the Houston Texans? Who's the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I know the Houston. No, I don't. I know.
Who's the owner of the Indianapolis Colts? Who's the owner of?
No, not Jimmy. You're saying.
I know the owner of the
Pittsburgh.
New England Patriots, and I know the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But at the same time, the Rooneys, they don't ever. I mean, they're in the building a lot, but they're not like making decisions and like stuff like that. I mean, the Fords need to be hiring people that like, hey, just make us millions and billions of dollars and just don't screw it up.
So let's take a look at the rest of the season before we switch over to college football for the Lions.
248-356-0077 if you want to get any last-minute Lions calls in. 248-356-0077.
They have the Oakland Raiders Sunday.
I think they lose that game.
Thursday. Oh, Thanksgiving, against the Eagles.
I think they win that game.
Yeah, the whole Thanksgiving atmosphere. Big Sean in the house for that game. Home against the Packers on what I believe is also
Thursday night
a Thursday night. Yep. At the Rams, at the Saints is a winnable game, I think. The Saints are not
Monday Night Football right here on Channel 7.
Yep. Home against the 49ers, also a winnable game. And at Chicago, I don't think they beat Chicago. At Chicago on January 3rd.
Again,
especially with the way
it's realistic. So they 7 games left. It's realistic that they go 5-2.
Yeah, it could
Do
happen.
you want them to go 5-2?
Absolutely not.
That would make them a 7-9 team.
Yeah, but they're not. What's the point? Again, and I said this earlier. What's the point? They're not making the playoffs at 7-9. You're just kind of taking yourself back out of the draft. I mean, and this goes back. So Evan sent us the question and said there's no clear number one. Even if they do have a top pick, there's always the opportunity to trade it.
Yep.
You're gonna have new management in. To turn the volume off on your computer.
Sorry.
That's all right. I did that earlier.
Maybe.
You're gonna have new management hopefully in who may make the right picks. You can trust them to make picks in those second and third rounds. So you could always trade your pick. Grab a second rounder, maybe add a third rounder, and suddenly
it only matters if you have a guy who can draft second rounders that are going to produce.
But the thing is we're not going to know that until we find out who the guy is, and then also we're not going to know that until he does the draft.
Exactly.
I mean, it'd be a good draft. I mean, that would give him a chance to have a good shot at picking a team and showing what he can do if they have extra second round picks.
Sure.
If he swaps
well,
the
and
first
this isn't over yet. This team is. I think that I heard the other day that of the 53 men on the roster, I think only 23 or 24 of them are due to come back next year.
Wow.
This team will look drastically different, which is why you have to go out and you have to find somebody who's going to come in and say, hey, look, you have a clean slate with the team. There are very few things that we have to do. We're going to keep Matthew Stafford for another year because the cap hit this year is $11 million, or next year is $11 million. The year after it's only $5 million, so you could potentially trade him the year after that, but I just don't think they're going to throw away $11 million. Maybe they do. Maybe they get enough in return draft-wise that it's worth it for them to move him. Calvin Johnson, he's another guy. You move him, trade him, you're going to pay some dead cap space, but at the same time, you can get value for him. You have a guy that can come in, and the Lions aren't going to be good next year. You have to understand that if they're going through this process, you have to kind of take a step back before you can take a step forward. They're going to be a young team, but it could be a young, exciting team. And it could be a team, if you get enough pieces, valuable pieces in your veteran positions, and you have a lot of young talent, in a couple of years, you could be playing meaningful football games. But don't expect that the Lions are going to make the playoffs next year. Expect them to. If they do, and you're seeing progress from their young talent, then you're going to be better off. But I just think that this team needs to wipe the slate clean, start over, bring in new blood, and then really bring in new blood as far as players are concerned.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's kind of get through these next 7 weeks, see what happens, and then wait until is the draft in April or May this year?
I think it's
May
April.
last year.
The combine's in April. Maybe it's in May.
Yeah,
might be in May.
Wait until spring. And
All
see
right.
what happens.
We have turned over the hour of 1 o'clock here on the WXYZ Digital Sports Lunch. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn our attention to the college game. Michigan and Michigan State both victorious over the weekend. I was at the Michigan State game covering it for our fine broadcasts this weekend. And who are you more impressed with over the weekend, Max? Michigan or Michigan State?
I'm going to say Michigan State.
Oh.
Just, Michigan, I knew it was going to be a shootout. I said it was going to be a shootout, but they couldn't stop the run game. Now, I'm impressed with Jake Rudock. He has had 2 great games. But in all, if you're going to look at the way the games were played yesterday or on Saturday, I would say Michigan State. I thought they played a better game offensively, defensively. Michigan, especially near the end, I mean, Indiana ran, almost 20 straight run plays?
Yeah.
And they just couldn't stop it. Indiana took, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and that's exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing it until you stop us, and just Michigan couldn't stop them. The only time Michigan stopped them, when they had to pass on those last 2 plays. Well, last 1 play.
Super Bowl, 4th and 2 from the 2, and you're throwing it. What was that?
When running has worked. Doesn't make sense. But
I got to feel bad for Indiana just a touch, just simply because they had Ohio State on the ropes. They had scored a touchdown in the shoe earlier in the season. They would have tied them, maybe gone to overtime, maybe gotten a win there. They had Michigan State only up by 2 entering the fourth quarter, and then Michigan State goes nuts for 24 points in the fourth quarter. They have Michigan at home. It's basically their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because they had to win that game to get – I mean, they could still get bowl eligible by winning the final 2 games. But they got Michigan at home. They got a crazy house. The lights are on. You had them on the ropes. You took a lead. You took a lead with like a minute and a half left.
I have a question for you. Are you worried about Saturday's game now with Connor Cook?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Switching over to Michigan State, obviously. 248-356-0077. Are we getting the whole truth on Connor Cook? That's what I want to ask you guys.
Ooh. That's a deep question.
And if he doesn't play, what is your percentage that Michigan State can get a victory? Because by no stretch of the imagination do I think that Ohio State is as good as everyone's making them out to be. Everyone sees that little number 1 or number 2 next to Ohio State and goes, they're the best team. Have you watched them? I mean, they barely beat 28-3 over Illinois. And this is supposed to be the best team. 28-3 over Illinois.
That was a loaded second half game. Like the first quarter looked bad.
Like they have not done anything. They haven't played anybody.
No.
Now, if they are a type of team that gets up for the big games, fine. Then they're probably going to wax the floor with State. But State can get up for big games too. So it'll be a fight. It'll definitely be a fight. I just think that State's been through more fire this year than Ohio State has been. So I give them that intangible edge, if you will. But man, I just don't know if Connor Cook is going to be able to go 100% on Saturday.
Well,
and the thing is I asked Mark D'Antonio point blank after the game. I said, "What is your confidence level on a scale of 1 to 10? How you're going to, how confident that Connor will play next Saturday?" And he kind of joked with me and goes, "Well, is 10 high or low?" Ha 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 ha. I said 10's high, and he said, "I'm at a 9.5." So he's at a 9.5 that Connor Cook is going to be full go for Saturday. They kept him out of the second half strictly as a precautionary rule, but every time Connor Cook walked off the field during the first half of that game, his throwing arm was just dangling.
That was scary.
And it was not good. And
you don't want to see an arm just hanging.
There was a vine that I saw that somebody, like a trainer's touching his shoulder, and she hit him right here, and he went, like really hard. And I've also been told that Connor's family and him met with the trainers after the game, and it didn't look good.
I mean, you don't come back in.
And you also have to read into some of the other things that happened. Mark D'Antonio pulled an ace out of his pocket and said, "Tyler O'Connor, you're going in for the second series. Get out there." And he goes, "Me?" Nobody knew. Not the offensive coordinator, not the quarterback's coach, not the players. Nobody knew. And D'Antonio said, "That was my choice." And he kind of joked about it. He goes, somebody said, "Well, why?" And he said, "Well, sometimes when you're the head coach, you get to do whatever you want." And everyone kind of laughed, ha, 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 ha. But he said, then he went on to say, "I just felt that he needed to get some live game experience reps." Well, not for next year. Again, yes, that's valuable, and he will be able to look back at this experience next year if he's going to compete for the starting job. He'll be like, "Oh, yeah, remember that Maryland game? I came in and did 5 for 7, played a pretty good game. Yeah, I remember that." If that's how you're going to do that, you're going to say, "Hey, Tyler, you're going to get some snaps today. Be ready." "Oh, okay, Coach, cool, I'm ready." Or we're going to have you go out in the second series, so be ready for that. "Oh, okay, Coach, cool, I'm ready for that." When you spring it on him like that and you say, "Hey, Tyler, you're in the game, go." And he puts his helmet on, he's running out there going, "Oh, oh, oh." That is because if he gets a call on Saturday, if Connor Cook goes out there and takes one big hit from Joey Bosa, and all of a sudden, "Tyler, you're going in the game," he had to kind of see how he was going to handle that pressure, how he was going to handle that spotlight. And I know it was Maryland at home, and it's a different spotlight when it's Ohio State on the road.
Yeah, I have to shoot.
But at the same time, Mark D'Antonio is telling us things without telling us things, saying that Tyler O'Connor had to have a little bit of, that uneasy appearance in there, go in there, and you're on. Hey, go, you're in. Well, I mean, how do you react to that? And I think Tyler did a really nice job.
Yeah,
and he admitted after the game, he said, I didn't play my best game. But if his practice week starting today isn't lights out focus for him, he may be your starting quarterback on Saturday. I would be surprised if he was your starting quarterback on Saturday, but if things go throughout this week and Connor cannot throw the football effectively, and that's what Mark D'Antonio said. He said, my quarterback, he just didn't have the zip and the pop on the ball that he usually does. Well, did he have the zip and the pop on the ball in the first quarter against Nebraska 2 weeks ago? Ask yourself that question. No, he didn't. Did Connor Cook play his best game of the season against Nebraska? No. Did he look a little off? I would say yes. Now, he did make some tough throws. But I'm just not thinking that we have the whole story here. And that's not any fault of the team. I don't think they're deceiving anything. They're not deceiving us. I don't care if they deceive us. They're playing the game of, the quarterback, we're not going to let you know our injuries things. D'Antonio quickly shot down any talk of injury talk yesterday during his teleconference last night because he's like, I'm not talking about it.
Now, are they speaking tomorrow? Are they doing?
Yeah,
media
he'll
tomorrow?
have his press conference tomorrow. I'll go up there for that, and there will be more questions asked about it.
And so I'm seeing reports out of Columbus that Ohio State defensive coordinator Chris Ash is preparing for Connor Cook. I mean, you kind of have to because again they're saying he's not injured. But we've got a couple questions. One from Bill. He says he disagrees with you. Most people think Ohio State is extremely overrated. Do you honestly think MSU can move the ball on a pretty good OSU defense without Connor Cook? Without Connor Cook?
Where does he disagree with me on? That most people agree that Ohio State's. I think most people in Michigan agree that Ohio State's overrated. I think we're all kind of in unison, Michigan State fans alike, that Ohio State's not as good. But if that's the general perception of the nation, then there's no way that Ohio State continues to hover in the top two. Why are they still up 2-3? I know they fell to 3 in the college football playoff, and that's kind of how Florida State did it, but 2 years ago. But why are they still kind of given this free pass almost? I mean, JT Barrett didn't look good against Illinois, and Illinois is dreadful. I mean, that's the same thing. Even when Michigan State doesn't look good, Connor Cook's numbers have looked pretty good for the most part. But he only had 156 yards passing in that game against Illinois.
We have another question from Eric the Spartan.
Wait, I want to finish. What was the second half of Bill's question?
Oh, he says, do you honestly think MSU can move the ball in a pretty good OSU defense without Connor Cook?
No, I don't. But I also think that they're going to – Michigan State knows how big of a game this is. The coaching staff understands that you don't get a quarterback like Connor Cook and – you can't waste him. So if he can't go, then they're going to be really hurting, and I agree that they won't be able to move the ball that effectively. But at the same time, if that defense plays like it did against Maryland, the bend but don't break, this is a different Ohio State offense as it was last year, too. You got to keep that in mind. I mean, they lost some key pieces from that. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott is, you have to stop Ezekiel Elliott and then have JT Barrett and then beat you through the air. That's a weakness for Michigan State, don't get me wrong, but that's the game plan I would put together to go in and try to beat them because he just hasn't looked as sharp as he has in years past.
Yeah.
So, next question.
Eric the Spartan said, who do you see as the Big Ten champ?
The winner of this game. I really do. I think that if Michigan State wins, they'll beat Penn State at home, and they'll go to the Big Ten championship game and beat Iowa. Mm-hmm. If Ohio State wins it, I think Ohio State, with no losses in the conference, with just Michigan to go, they'll go because. Wait, can Michigan still win?
Yeah,
no, it would be a three-way tie.
No, they can still win. Here's why. And so this is a question I want to throw out.
No, it would be a two-way tie.
No, hold on.
I'm listening.
Hold on. So, if you're a Michigan fan, are you rooting for Ohio State this weekend? Because here's what can happen. If Ohio State beats Michigan State's second Big Ten loss. Mm-hmm. Michigan only has one Big Ten loss to Michigan State. So then if Michigan goes and beats Ohio State Saturday, now I know it's a long shot, but it could happen. If Michigan goes and beats Ohio State Saturday, suddenly they're tied with each one Big Ten loss, and Michigan holds the tiebreaker over Ohio State.
You're assuming that Michigan beats Penn State at Penn State.
Yeah, so that also happens. It's not, you know what, this helps out. I don't know why this happened, but it's not an 8 o'clock kick.
Oh, no, it's a noon.
They're not at Happy Valley at night. Now, they're gonna white the place out, but a whiteout at 12 o'clock in the afternoon is different than a whiteout at 8 o'clock at night.
No, I think that I don't think that Michigan has. I mean, look, it could happen. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Michigan's learned to win kind of ugly, and that's okay. Michigan State's lived on winning ugly for years.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Win's a win.
Win's a win. Doesn't matter. But I think the winner of this game. I think that if Ohio State realizes that they're one win away, they can get it done. But Jim Harbaugh's still looking for that signature victory. I think this season. It's tough to say. I mean, if you're asking me today, I'm telling you it's the winner of this game. I guess that's how I'll go.
No,
ask me
again
next week.
Yeah.
I guess let's talk next Monday. Come rejoin the show.
Eric the
call
Spartan,
in.
call
Eric
us
the
next
Spartan.
Monday.
Call in. We'll talk about it because if Michigan State wins it and they got Penn State at home to finish the season, I'll probably still stick with Michigan State. If Ohio State wins it, and depending on how they win it, and Michigan beats Penn State, then I'll probably have a different answer for you. So Eric, I appreciate the question. Make sure that you tune in next week to have me get a little bit more comfortable with my choice, because I just don't think, by any stretch of the imagination, I have any clue as of today who's going to win the Big Ten. If you're asking me to guess, I'm going with the winner of the Michigan State-Ohio State game.
Yeah, no, that's what I would say too. I mean, I'm rooting for Ohio State this weekend.
Of course you are.
I'm not going to lie.
It's fine.
But only because.
You have a Lions tattoo?
I hate you. Only because there's still a chance that. So, I mean, it's all going to be dependent on what happens in the Michigan game against Penn State. If Michigan loses to Penn State, then fine, I'm going to root for Michigan State. But if Michigan beats Penn State, and there's a chance that Michigan can go to the Big Ten title by beating Ohio State, then you have to root for Ohio State as a Michigan fan. It sucks. I know that fans are going to hate it, but it's, you know what, if you're a Michigan fan and you want Michigan to do the best they can and go to the Big Ten championship, then you have to root for Ohio State.
Yeah, you have to. Jake Butt certainly is the biggest Ohio State fan. He made that quite clear.
No, that was his brother, remember?
No, it was him.
This is his brother. No, that was totally Jake
You'll
Butt.
never get me that. About 15 minutes left in the show, and I want to bring this up because it's something funny happened to me yesterday. And I wanted to kind of share my story and then get maybe some funny stories from the listeners out there who have something similar to this. So I play in an adult hockey league.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's competitive, but again, it is out there for fun and exercise. No one's trying to win a Stanley Cup, but sometimes the juices get flowing a little bit and things get chippy. It's hockey, blah, 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 blah. So I kind of, getting a little spat with one of the players.
That's not surprising.
He hits me. I hit him back kind of with the stick and the slash and stuff like that. And the ref blows the whistle, and he hit me first, by the way. I was just the retaliator. So the ref.
So the guy that always. Don't you know?
I know. I played hockey for 15 years. Yeah, I know. But anyways, so the ref blows the whistle. You two, both in the box. So he throws us in the box. Second penalty of the day for me, by the way. And we're in the penalty box, and he's looking over and jawing at me, and I'm looking over and I'm jawing right back, and I'm just. He told me to put a sock in it. First of all, I thought that was humorous. Then he told and this is the part where I want to know how you would react. I am 31 years of age, and this guy probably close to 26, 25, 26, 27, a little younger than me, called me an old timer. Like, he said, "Put a sock in it, old timer." Is that how you trash talk anymore?
I didn't see that coming.
I said old timer. Like 3 years older than you, man.
People don't know how to trash talk anymore. We need to have a lesson on trash talking, apparently.
I thought it was hilarious. So I wanted to know, and again, after the penalty was over, I went out there and I shook the kid's hand because we were going against each other in the face-off. And
here's the thing, old timer. You're calling him a kid now, so.
Well, he's younger than me, so he's a kid. You're your kid because you're younger than me.
I'm a kid, yeah.
But I shook his hand and I was like, "Hey, no hard feelings, it's hockey." And then another guy I was kind of jawing with, I went over because again, it is rec league hockey, and while tempers can flare and people get upset and stuff like that, that's fine. I went over and I was just the bigger man because I was like, look, I don't want somebody to take me out. I don't wear shoulder pads when I play, so I don't want somebody to take me out and just knock
You don't
me
wear
out.
shoulder pads when you play?
No.
I thought they require that.
Not when you got shoulders like these, bro.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I knew that's where it was going.
So anyways, if you have a funny story about a competitive, volleyball, baseball, basketball, hockey game or whatever with a funny exchange, I'd love to hear the story. 248-356-0077, because I just thought getting called an old timer at 31 years old was funny. I thought that was really, really funny. I told the rest of my team, and they all were like, "What?" I'm like, "Really?" Thought it was pretty good.
I don't have a funny story, but I used to play softball. I loved playing softball, and I was a pitcher. And I'll tell you what, softball can be a dangerous game when you're playing in a beer league softball. Those guys hit that ball really hard.
Yeah, they can whip it.
And especially as a pitcher, I took a softball to the shin off a hit, just knocked. And I'm a big guy, you know this.
Mm-hmm.
And that knocked me to the ground, and my leg just swelled up to like a softball size. I mean, I had seam marks in my leg for like 2 weeks. It was bad. But I mean, I've seen fights on the softball field. The thing is that people get way too into it.
Well, and that's
I'm
I'm okay with having competitive, because you want it to be competitive. You don't want to just go out there and look. If you didn't want it to be a competitive game, whatever. And hockey is just I think it's the one sport where you're not supposed to check, but there has to be some physical contact.
Yeah.
It's kind of like basketball in a sense. Like, you're not supposed to hack a foul hard, but if somebody's going up for a layup, you're probably going to, if it's the game's on the line, you're going to, give them the hard foul.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know if anyone had any good, funny stories that they might want to share with us.
I put it on Twitter. Hopefully we'll get some good stuff.
Okay. In the meantime, let's finish talking about the college football playoff and how I see things shaking out. What an exciting night Saturday night was.
This
with
has been
all
a
the other
great year in
great
college
season.
football.
There's an interesting article on ESPN's front page right now talking about how 4 is just the right amount of teams for the college football playoff. And I have a gripe with that because I would like it to be 8, because there's less gripe about 9 and 10 not getting in than one of the conference champions being left out.
And there's going to no one, and as I think I said this yesterday, no one from the Pac-12 is getting in the playoff.
No, not at this point.
And possibly even the Big 12 now.
Well, if they keep beating each other,
Yeah,
and then you have Notre Dame coming into the
and
mix.
that's where the fault of the Pac-12 playing, what do they play, 9 conference games a year?
Big Ten plays 9 conference games starting next year.
Well, again, this might become the Big Ten is.
You have to. You
Yeah.
have to play more conference games. But my top 4 is as follows right now. Clemson is number 1 to me. Alabama is number 2. I think that the winner of the Michigan State-Ohio State game goes to number 3. And I think that Notre Dame stays at number 4 at this particular junction in time. Because I do think that Iowa will get beat by the winner of the East, whoever that is.
Iowa, I don't know what the college football playoff is thinking putting Iowa at 5.
I love, but if you're a Michigan State fan, you gotta love the fact that you have two top 5 teams potentially in the next 3 weeks. You gotta love that, because right now, if everyone's saying, well, Michigan State's on the outside looking in, sitting at number, they're gonna probably move up to 9 or 10. I would see them. I see them moving up to 10 in the latest.
Because who falls out of the top 10? Utah falls out of the top 10. Baylor,
Stanford, Baylor, LSU, and Utah all lose. I think your biggest mover is Oklahoma. They probably go up to 6.
Yeah.
And then you have Oklahoma State at 7. And then I think you have Florida at 8. And then you have Michigan State at 9. That's how I see it shaking out this week for the playoff. So you have a 3 versus 9 matchup this weekend in Columbus. College Game Day going to be there, by the way.
Yes, they will.
3 and 9 matchup. And then you play Penn State, who's going to be either a 7 or 8 win team, because they'll play Michigan and they'll either beat Michigan or lose to Michigan. 7 or 8 win team, which is still, hovering around the top 25. They might squeeze in there because they only have a couple losses. And then you have the Big Ten championship game. And if Iowa stays there, it could be a scenario like it was 2 years ago when Michigan State had to beat Ohio State to get to the Rose Bowl. Mm-hmm. You're beating Iowa. If someone else loses, Iowa could move up to 2 or 3.
We've got a question from Michael. I know Michael. He is, as Forrest Gump would say it, my best good friend.
Okay.
He said, "Can the winner of the Big Ten really compete with Clemson or Bama? I know anything can happen, but I don't see the Big Ten winner even being competitive." Now let me put a little asterisk next to this question. Michael is an Auburn grad, so he loves the SEC.
SEC. We love football.
But
Michael,
it's a fair question.
It is a fair question, and the answer is absolutely yes, they will be competitive. You have to understand how. Okay, so if by that rhetoric, and I can only use the past as an example, Baylor should have just blown the doors off of Michigan State last year.
Yeah.
And they did, to the tune of a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter. But to say that a team can't come back and abandon, okay, Michigan State at that point had to play better offense, and they did. And they went down, and they made the stops when they needed to. I mean, look at what Oklahoma did to Baylor. Baylor has been scoring 70 points a game. And Oklahoma found a way to stop it, get the ball, score. Stop it, get the ball, score. And that was a back-and-forth game for the first half. I just don't see, any blowouts in the playoff. I mean, if you want to talk about a blow-off, did anyone expect Ohio State to blow out Alabama last year? How about that? That was the number 1 overall seed, mind you.
Yeah.
Blown out. So to say that they're not going to be able to game plan, because you got to remember, they're going to have a month to get ready for this game. After the Big Ten Championship game on the 5th of December, they don't play until New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's 25 days.
It's a lot of prep time.
So much prep time.
And that's also a lot of time for guys
injuries,
to recover.
Recovery.
Well, and not even injuries, just the fact that you've been playing
a
brutal 12-week schedule. You know, you lose 4 weeks, you can sit in the ice bath. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not going full pads of practice every week.
Exactly. You know, you get 15 extra practices in there.
Yep.
So to say that they wouldn't be competitive, I don't think that would they. If you're going to tell me if Michigan State's going to beat Alabama today, I'm going to say no. But do I think they have a chance in the game? Absolutely. Not a huge one. I wouldn't take Michigan State over Alabama today. But if you talk to me in 3 or 4 weeks after I've been around practice and I've seen things and talked to people and go down there and see how Alabama's working, then maybe I still would probably pick Alabama in that game. But to say that they don't have any chance in the world, I'm not on board with that.
Yeah, Michigan lost a big player this week. Was it Ryan Glasgow?
Oh, he's out for the year?
I don't know if he's out for the year, but I mean that's a big injury. I'm going back through some tweets from Harbaugh's press conference this afternoon. Brad Galley was there. He'll have the sit-down interview with Jim tonight on 7 Action News at 6. He says, so here's a good question. Jim Harbaugh says he thinks J.U. Chesson has NFL potential. That guy's had a breakout season.
Yeah, he really has. I think he also had a really nice quote about how Harbaugh thinks that his quarterback and 3 receivers are playing as well as anybody in the country right now. I wouldn't disagree with that either.
Well, apparently Jake Rudock and J.U. Chesson are co-Big Ten offensive,
they are
B1G offensive players of the week.
B1G, yeah, they're the co-offensive players. Lawrence Thomas was named the defensive player. So Michigan takes the state of Michigan. 2 teams take a clean sweep of the offensive and defensive players of the week. That's not. But I'm really impressed with how Michigan can move the football and starting to evolve into that. Hey, we got to beat you by score. Because at first, it was all defensive in the first 5-6 games of the season for them, and that was good that they built the culture around the defense. But now we're starting to see the evolution of the offense and the digression of the defense to a certain degree. Now, again, it is Indiana. Indiana is going to put up points on anybody.
Yeah.
Put up points on everybody, actually. To say that they can't move the football and score the football it's like playing Baylor. It's like playing a TCU. They're gonna get you. That's how their offense runs. But they don't have any defense to save their lives. That's how the Big 12 plays. Michigan at least has some semblance of a defense. In that game, it kind of got thrown to the wayside. But I see them putting up a good fight against Penn State. I just think Penn State has some more athletes that can contend with Michigan. That'd be a good game.
Are you picking Penn State?
No, I'm picking Michigan to win it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were on a route to pick Penn State to win it.
I'm 60-40. 60-40 Michigan. Because I think Hackenberg is a better quarterback than Jake Rudock, but Jake Rudock has proven that he can get that done.
Well,
Michigan's won some games in Penn State.
He's hitting those long balls now.
He's starting to hit some of those long balls. Yeah, absolutely.
May have figured that out. One bad play call I thought that happened in the Michigan game on Saturday was it overtime when they pitched it to Drake Johnson to go around the corner.
Yeah.
And,
I remember that.
He's not fast enough to make that turn. You got to have Jabril.
Well, it's like running a tight end on 3rd and 8, but I digress. All right, Final thoughts from our weekly webcast here today. The Lions are just, if you're a fan and you got season tickets, go enjoy the games. Take it for what they're worth, because this will be a completely different team, completely different franchise moving forward, and that's what you really should be rooting for the most. I think that Michigan will beat Penn State. I think that Michigan State, with a healthy Connor Cook, will beat Ohio State. And really set up a really exciting last 2 weeks of the college football season. Make sure you keep it here on Channel 7 for tonight's Jim Harbaugh. Inside the Huddle with him, Brad Galley at 6 o'clock tomorrow.
What'd you think of that Rousey fight?
Yeah.
No?
Fighting.
Okay.
And,
you almost did it on Sunday, so.
Really?
Well, with the old man.
No, he was younger than me.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't have I told the guy after, I go, dude, I'm not going to fight. Because fighting with people with face masks is really stupid.
It's like the football players should punch the helmets.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Like, I'm not doing that. No. And then the ref came up and goes, man, I was kind of hoping you guys were going to fight. It was kind of funny. We had a good time with it.
Thanks,
it's all in fun. Pistons are home tomorrow against LeBron James and the Cavs. We'll have some fun stuff.
Yeah, Red Wings got a tough week ahead of them. They have Ottawa, Washington, Los Angeles, St. Louis, and then the Bruins on Thanksgiving Eve.
Woo.
It's a tough week.
Yeah, I don't know about that team. They have a lot of talent. I just think that and it's not the coaching, it's just finding that chemistry with this team with a lot of young guys, and goaltending is playing really well. They just have no scoring.
They got to score some goals.
They got to score some goals.
I mean, they won one goal in 4 of the last 5 games, and they've only scored one. Oh no, I can't go back that far, but of the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, they've only scored more than 2 goals once.
Yeah, you got to score some goals.
Yeah.
Need some 3-goal games. All right, that is the Sportscast for this Monday afternoon. We appreciate it. We'll have this podcast up on our website, WXYZ.com, later on today.
Soon enough.
And we will be talking to you next week. Have a good one.